Let's get this party started. This is me doing all Advent of Code coding challenges live. This is my face. That seems to be working. This is Advent of Code. I think I'm signed in with GitHub. And for the first day, I think I will not be using the AOC CLI or any additional tools. I will just write a very simple Python script to solve the first challenge, and then we can see where it goes from there. I do have a folder prepared, which is called Advent 2020, fittingly enough, which is when I came up with this little thing. Let me see if my Python is still working. Seems to be perfect. I think we can solve the first couple of days in the CLI maybe. Let's see. And here we go. The jungle must be too overgrown and difficult. One important calories is carrying. The elves take turns writing down the number of calories contained by the various meals. In case get hungry, need extra snacks. I'd like to know how many calories are being carried by the elf carrying the most calories. Okay. Let's go to my puzzle input. Let's put it into I guess we should first make a folder for 2022. And then make a folder for one, and then paste into input.txt. Now we can open Python, and we can open the file input.txt. Then we do fread, split by 2 new lines, and then we do map lambda elf to split lines, is I think what we're going for here. Cool, that did not work. Why did it not work? Lambda e colon. Is that not how you do lambda functions in Python? I'm pretty sure it is. No? It's been a long time since I wrote some Python. Um, yeah, that seems to be how you write a lambda function. Well, before I completely make a fool of myself, why don't we turn this into a script file and call it main.py. And here we can just take all of this. So what I'm doing here is to group the elves by splitting by 2 new lines and then trying to get for every single elf the input split by single line breaks. So this is a line break. It does in fact look like, oh, I wrote lambda and not lambda. My English is perfect. So we can turn this into a very simple list of commands. The only thing I need to do now is to add another map inside of here because we actually want it to be an integer. So we should be able to put int as a method in here. And then we should be able to take a look at the content. Yeah, so what am I doing? I'm opening the text file, I'm getting all of the text inside of it, and I'm splitting it into groups of chunks that are separated by 2 new lines. Then for every single chunk, I'm splitting it again with split lines, very convenient function which will remove empty lines for you if they're at the end. And then again, I want to map this again into int. Map is doing nothing else than executing one method for every single one of the elements in a list and then returning that as a list. Only Python is a little bit weird and it's not actually a list, so you again have to do lists around that. So you do a list map, then you want to get the integer for every single one of the lines in every one of the lines of all of these blocks, which we previously split by two new lines. Cool. I have no idea how I managed to mess up the word lambda, but here we go. And the last thing is then to get the most calories of that. So we would do for elf and elves. Well, actually, since we've done so much mapping, we might as well just map all of this again and get the sum of all these elves. And I think then we should just print the max of these elves. Sum is a method that will, for a list of integers and numbers, give you the summation of them. And max will just give us the maximum number. So 66616 should be the answer here. There we go. Continue to part 2. And we got, by the time you calculated run of snags, top 3 elves. The sum of the calories carried by these 3 elves. Okay, so instead of doing this, we will do print sum of sorted elves minus 3 column. And this should be the answer of part 2. Perfect. Okay, this was maybe a bit too fast. Why does this work? We're previously we just have a list of sums of calories. Now we're turning this into a list that's sorted by the amount of calories. So at the start of the list, we will have small numbers. At the end, we have large numbers. Python has this array magic, which is the only reason why I'm using Python to solve these challenges, which means I can get the last 3 elements in these 5 characters of text. So all you have to do is say, give me, okay, I can actually do a little example here. Let's say we have a list that has the letters A, B, C, and D. Python is amazing because Python doesn't only let us get the first element of this list, we can also say we want the first up to the second element of this list. Oh, yeah, this is a very simple mistake that happens way too often to me. So you would say, okay, 0 to 1 should give you 2 elements, but actually the amount of elements is always the difference between these two. So 2 minus 0 is 2, so we get 2 elements here. So it's up to. Let me try to rephrase. Um, if you put this colon, it gives you a range of numbers out of your list. Let's say you want to have everything up to the first element, it will give you 1 element. Everything up to the second element, it will give you 2. And now the beauty is, apart from other languages, which might throw an error if you go too high into the list, these suffixes and prefixes will work regardless of how long your list is. So give me up to 200 elements out of my list, boom, it just gives you 4. Doesn't complain. Python is great. And what's even better is that you can use a minus to indicate don't go from the start of the list, go from the back. So -1 will give you the last element, -2 the second last, and so on. And you can also use the colon to say, okay, give me the last element and then everything to the end. That's just 1 element. But if we say, give me the last element 2 from the back and then everything up to there, you just get the last 2 elements. So if we just sort our list, the elves, and then we return everything starting from the third last element and onwards, we again have a list of the 3 biggest numbers in this array. And then if we do sum on it, we have the summation of all of those numbers, and that's it. This is the entire script to solve the first and the second challenge of Advent of Code. And again, if I run this now, we get the first number, which is the highest, and the second number, which is the sum of the 3 highest. Here we are. I will now finish the live stream, set up my CLI, and see you for number 2.